forward to learning about today?
I'm looking forward to learn stuff that makes our patrons a lot more safe and keeps them informed and us from getting in trouble, because I don't want to get in trouble.
What are you most excited about learning today, Andrew?
All the new laws coming in effect October 1st.
Avery, what do you expect to learn out of today?
I just woke up. New laws. I'm ready for it.
What do you expect to learn out today?
The best donut place in Tyler. I found it out, and I'm also interested in learning the new rules so that I don't break them.
And what do you expect to learn out of today?
The new laws and how to new laws.
If you think we're talking about you, we are.
Good job.
Good job.
How to eat free donuts.
And
Ask me. Ask me.
what do you expect to learn out of today?
How to feed Tyler free donuts.
Oh my god. I hate you.
Online sales is a little bit different, but before I get started, I'll just tell you a little bit about me. My name's Frank. I'm based in Amarillo. My shop is Lucky Ruckus. We've been in business for about 3 years, and at the end of 2014, we started working with Sfata to put together a group for Texas, because Texas had no advocacy groups. So luckily, we were able to pull a bunch of people together. When we first started, there was, out of all the shops in Texas, there was 18 shops that were members of Sfata. 18, and there's probably at least 1,000 across all of Texas. So by the end of January, we started increasing that membership, and we got it up to, I want to say it's pretty close to 90 shops that are members of Sfata now. And what Sfata does is Sfata is basically a trade organization, and they represent the industry. A lot of people sometimes confuse CASA with Sfata. The difference is CASA is a consumer advocacy group. So CASA doesn't represent the interest of businesses. They're strictly consumer. Then you've got the vaping militia, and those, when you take those two groups and you throw in the vaping militia, is everybody familiar with those guys? The vaping militia, they pretty much got free reign. They can do and say whatever they want. Because they're a for-profit organization. CASA is a CO1-3C6, which means they're a trade organization. CASA's classification is C3, which means they can't advocate at the government level. So they can do a lot of stuff, call to actions and everything else, but they can't directly advocate. And then the fourth group is the ABA, Greg Connolly. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with Greg Connolly. That's his group, and he basically is another industry group that's helping support business, but he also does a lot of stuff for consumers. So anyhow, February of 2015, we've got like 84 members in the Sfata group. We were able to raise enough money to put a lobbyist in place. And does everybody know what a lobbyist does for you?
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay, somebody tell me.
I mean, you pretty much do anything to get a vote.
Yeah, pretty much. A lobbyist is they're your eyes on the ground in Austin at the state level, and they don't come cheap. It was like 30 grand for 4 months to have this person in place up there. And what they do is they spend a lot of time with the legislators, building relationships, representing the interest of whoever's paying them. So we hired Kathy Grant and put her in place, and luckily we did, because Kathy has a real good relationship with a lot of legislators in Texas. So she went to work. We made multiple trips to Austin, sitting in hearings, testifying, trying to convince these folks sitting in Austin that are making these rules that they needed to make sure they had good information, good facts, data-based information, which even when we gave that to them, at the end of the day, it still didn't really make a whole lot of difference, because what really matters when you're talking about making laws that impact us is dollars. And when we came in, we're the new kids on the block, okay? The people in Austin, the legislators, had no idea who vapors were. They had no idea how many of us there were. And they still don't, to this day, don't fully understand the science behind vaping. You know, it looks like smoking, so it's gotta be bad. It's got nicotine in it, so it's gotta be bad. Well, if you spend any time at all on the internet doing any research on what we do, nicotine is not necessarily bad. And there's a lot of studies that have been done that present data around what's in the vapor. The only thing we don't know is what are the long-term health effects. Nobody knows that. That's one reason that you're always gonna hear people say, you can't ever say vaping is safe. Because nobody knows what the long-term health effects are. If you were a smoker before and you converted to vaping, you know how different you feel. You know, you know how you feel now compared to when you were waking up in the morning after you've been smoking all night. And there's a huge difference, but long-term data on the health effects, nobody's got them. So anyhow, went through the legislator. SB 97 sat for, I don't know, about a month or two with basically no movement. There was a couple of other bills. House Bill 170, which was authored by Carol Alvarado. And then there was a couple of others, 646. They tried to push that and make it move, but it didn't move. Kathy Grant, the advice she gave us was 170 and 97 are the ones that are gonna move. So we took her advice, listened to her, let her work her magic. And at the end of the day, what we wound up with is Senate Bill 97, which was authored by Chewy Hinojosa, who hates nicotine and hates what we do because it looks like smoking. That got pushed through, but it got pushed through with a whole lot of changes that were different than it originated as. Originally, there was language in the bill that said if you had outdoor advertising, you had to pay a 10% tax on whatever your cost was. It said you had to have a stamp on every product that you sell from the state fire marshal. It was just ridiculous. So basically, what we wound up with is a bill that has got a few key points, and they touted it as an age restriction bill. It's a little bit more than that. But I don't know how many times I've heard this, it's all about the children. We have to save the children. And I agree.
The AC. Check it. Yeah, see if it's on.
70.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyhow,
Jesus Christ.
this bill got pushed through. It passed the Senate, married up with House Bill 170, and went back to the Senate for full approval, and then they passed it, the governor signed it into law. There's some key points that I'm going to go through, and once we're done, we can go through some Q&A, but it's really pretty simple. For in-store in Texas, what that bill requires is anybody that comes in your store that looks like they're under 27, you have to verify their age, okay? I'm sure you probably do that now. You can check their driver's license now. If you get in trouble because you sold product to somebody that's under 18, the only defense that Jeff and Laney have is if they've used an age verification scanner. And I'm sure you've seen them at concerts, bars. You scan a driver's license and it pops up and says yes or no that this person's 18 or older. That, it doesn't say you have to have that scanner, but it does say if you get in trouble, the only defense that you have is that you took an ID from that person and ran it through the scanner and it said it was good. So that's pretty straightforward. The other thing that is required is there's got to be documented training, so that at any given time, the scanner's got to be working and everybody that's operating it has got to know how to operate it, and the training's got to be documented. As far as age verification for in-store, that's pretty much what we've got to deal with. The other thing is all bottles have got to be child-resistant caps. And they've got to meet this FDA requirement, 16 CFR section 1700. It's pretty straightforward, and if you're buying from a reputable supplier now, chances are those caps are already meeting that requirement. The other thing is you've got to post signage in the store, and the comptroller is going to supply the sign. You just have to request them. And it basically is the same thing you see when you go in a liquor store or tobacco shop. It says smoking is dangerous, smoking kills, blah, blah, blah. So that's in store. That's what you have to do in stores. Anybody have any questions about that?
Why are they making this stuff harder to sell than cigarettes?
Okay, that's a good question. And I'm going to start with saying, I agree with you 100%, but we've got a new industry, and we've got people making laws that don't understand us, and they don't even know who we are. That's why it's important that vapors and vendors band together, and we've got a presence when things like this are happening. We came in late to the game, and it's amazing that we were able to increase the membership of Sfata, Texas, and raise the money to put a lobbyist in place. If we hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here talking to you now, and this bill would probably look 10 times worse. So that, I mean, that's a good question. I can't answer it. The only thing I can tell you is based on what I saw through that 4-month process is you can take information and present it to these folks, data packages full of studies, peer-reviewed studies, studies from medical journals. They took it, smile, shake your hand, and it probably went in a corner and probably hadn't been touched because they don't have time to read it. Now, as we go forward, we've got a presence in Texas now. That's going to be different when the legislative session comes up in 2017 because they know who we are. They know there's vapors in every city. They know there's vapors that votes. So I can't answer your question as to why, but the only thing I can say is the only thing that's going to change that is that we as a group of consumers and vendors are banded together so that there's a presence whenever these things come up. And these things can come up at the city level, they could come up at the state level, and then at some point this year there's going to be a decision made at the federal level, and everybody's heard about that. Nobody has any idea exactly what that's going to look like yet. There's been a lot of speculation about what it's going to look like, but as of now, nobody can look you in the eye and tell you exactly what's going to happen when the FDA makes their announcement. Reasonable regulation makes sense. The key word's reasonable. You know, you don't want to regulate this product like cigarettes because it's not cigarettes. So again, that's where consumer and vendor advocacy groups come in to play, is educating these folks. And after they've seen you 3 or 4 or 5 times, you start to build a relationship with them and get those guys to listen to what you're saying. That's when you make changes in how the lawmaking process works. And because we're such a new industry, that's why it's so difficult at every level now. There's cities everywhere passing bans. You can't vape where you can't smoke. Now, you know, everybody's got a different opinion on this, but if you're in Walmart blowing a cloud, you shouldn't be doing that.
No, it makes everybody.
Because that gives vapors a bad name, you know? I mean, if you can't smoke there, you shouldn't vape there. And having said that, everybody in here knows just like I do. You can vape discreetly wherever you are.
Absolutely.
And chances are nobody's even going to know you're doing it unless you want to publicize it. So that's the beauty of what we do. I sat on an airplane and watched a guy that was probably 70 hitting an Enjoy for the entire flight. And not one person besides me knew, and the only reason I knew is because I was sitting cat-a-corner from him. Yeah. And I knew what he had, I knew what he was doing, but he didn't cause any problems to anybody around him. So, I mean, you can vape discreetly, and that's the key. So that's a whole nother topic. But anyhow, does anybody have any other questions about shop-specific stuff?
Yeah. With that sign, I mean, I understand, they know about smoking long-term effects, got it. With vaping, we don't know the long-term effects. Are they going to amend the sign for vaping? And not to mention, are they gonna make it to where, they don't know the long-term effects, so how can they really post something they don't know about?
Well, the only information I have on the sign is it's a requirement of the comptroller. So, and unfortunately, it's one of those things where whether you like it or not, you gotta get that sign and you gotta put it up in your shop.
It's gonna
Now,
probably wind up being about nicotine, that's the only thing I know.
possibly. But I mean, you know, what you put next to that sign is up to you. You know, if you've got your own sign that says, the Texas State Comptroller made me put this sign up, and you hang that right next to the comptroller sign.
Yeah, I like it. That's not a bad idea.
But again, I'm not telling you to do anything, I'm just saying there's ways around things that you don't agree with most of the time. But the comptroller is gonna, and Shell sent an email out on UPS Place Law saying, give her your address and she'll coordinate to get those signs shipped in. This bill goes into effect October 1st. So, any other questions about shop stuff?
I have something I'd like to talk about that's not on the list.
Okay.
You know, this is more of a, my personal opinion, but I feel like, a big thing that the government and all that's gonna, go into and target is gonna be also where you make your juice as well. Just want to know that, it would be best if shops also decide to upgrade their juice room, so like an ice lab, so if they were to, target that, we all would be strong enough and be able to fight back or, show that everything is under, some sort of regulation. Compared to your smaller shops that have, a tiny little juice room that don't have plastic walls, tiles, all that stuff.
Well, and you're training on the accurate nicotine as well. This is so far off from nicotine. In California, they were picking up screaming bottles all over the place. They were 5 months saying that the nicotine test on it. The majority of them were way off.
Right, and that's a good point.
You know what we're waiting on from the FDA though?
I don't know. I know that there's, the FDA is supposed to make a decision about the deeming regulations at some point this year. Nobody knows what that announcement's gonna be. People say, well, once they make the announcement, there's gonna be a 2-year window for everybody to get compliant. I've also heard that if they don't change the grandfather date and you have to go through that pre-market application, I've seen dollar numbers of $300,000 per liquid per nicotine level, and nobody can afford that, I mean, the big players, Enjoy, and those people would struggle to afford that. So there's...
Well, an Enjoy rep came by the shop, and the way he was describing it to me was as if they were trying to monopolize it, where they would, guys like us who couldn't afford that, I mean, 5 Ponds probably couldn't even afford to do it, would have to go through a third party that's actually owned by Enjoy to have their juice made, and that with that same dollar number that you just said with the testing, plus the close to 1,500 man hours per flavor.
Yeah, and
I would say this, they're just trying to strong arm us, that's all that is.
Sure, no, absolutely.
nobody knows.
Yeah,
what-
we are like, really,
Speculate.
that's like why they do, they're about to open their own shop, and they're only gonna create a juice because they want to mess with the juicing part of it. So,
Juice manufacturing is huge. And, in conversations I've heard people say, and this makes sense, from an FDA perspective, if you were the FDA and you wanted to regulate a product, would you rather regulate a product that comes in a closed, sealed container that's got a measured amount of liquid in it? Or would you want to regulate a product like almost everybody in here has, it's an open tank system with a dripper and some kind of squeeze bottle? Yeah. It's easier to regulate a closed container. Nobody knows what's going to happen. If it goes that route, then I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not going to quit drinking. I've been drinking for 2.5 years. I'm not going to quit doing that. I don't know what's going to happen. But closed container systems are definitely popular with people that regulate things because it's easier to regulate. They don't care that 90% of the people don't like closed tank systems because they don't work. There's a lot of people working on that. So I wouldn't get worried about that yet because there's a lot of vapors. And there's a lot of organizations that are watching what's happening with the FDA. And when they make their announcement, those organizations are going to send that to their lawyers, and their lawyers are going to go through it, and then something's going to happen. So whatever happens isn't gonna happen without a fight. But juice manufacturing, you can go into any city in the US and find a shop that's mixing juice from scratch behind the counter. That's not the right way to do that. You can't stop them from doing that because there's no regulation, and that's where reasonable regulation comes into play. There's no regulation, there's no rules. People can basically do what they want until reasonable regulations come into effect. And what you were saying lends towards an industry that self-regulates. Ideally, that's where we want to be. We want to self-regulate. That's why you see all this push about trademark infringement and labels that appeal to kids. Whether you agree with it or not, that's reality, because perception is reality. If you've got a bottle that says Fruit Loops on it and it's got pictures of Fruit Loops, you're going to have a hard time convincing somebody that that's not going to be appealing to a kid. And whether it is or not, I'm not here to say. I'm just saying perception is reality in a whole lot of cases. And there's a whole lot of trademark infringement going on out there. I mean, there you go.
We know a lot about that.
So, you know, like I said, I'm not the trademark police. I'm not the label police. All I'm saying is, if you've got labels that you wouldn't be proud of showing to anybody, anywhere, you might want to think about rebranding, you know, just because perception is reality. And I'm speaking from experience because we manufacture our own juice. We rebranded some of our liquids for that very reason, because we had some labels that were, you know, a little bit suggestive, and they were pretty cool labels, you know, but we changed them about a month and a half ago, completely changed them so that I don't have to worry about whether something that we manufacture is causing problems for the industry. I mean, that's why we did it. So, I mean, and that's a choice you have to make because there's no rules. The only rules for trademark infringement is if whoever you're making the juice label look like comes after you, then you might want to, you might wish you would have done it. So, and that's a whole nother topic, and I'm sorry I even got off on that. But anytime you talk about vaping, that's going to come up in this day and age. But self-regulation is the best place to be. But vapors are a diverse group. I mean, you got people from all walks of life that are vaping. How many people here have ever been to a big event, Vape Summit?
Vape Blast, Vape Summit.
So when you go to those, if you were an outside person and you went in there, you would be like, holy shit, what's going on?
Yep.
You know? And I mean, I'm not against that because, I mean, it's fun, but perception's reality. And you saw what happened in New Jersey.
No joke.
The guys that set that up in New Jersey, maybe they shouldn't have done that.
They made a lot of money.
But that's an ugly deal, and the senator was there, the health department was there. And, you know, some vape events can get pretty crazy. So self-regulation is where we want to be, but with the diversity in our group, self-regulation is pretty tough because you get 10 vapors in a room, you're probably going to get 10 different opinions, you know, and it's hard to pull everybody together for the greater good. Any other questions about shop stuff?
Is there any plans for these groups pulling a lobbyist together for federal level?
There are federal lobbyists working now. Sfata has lobbyists on the federal level. Enjoy has got a whole government affairs team, and that's all they do is work regulations all year long.
One of their lobbyists actually was prior chairman of the FDA with Enjoy. So he's got all the inside to have a fight against them as a lobbyist.
Yeah, they've got some big guns.
They've got some big
I want
guns.
to say that, you know, my team anyway knows that we were on spring break with the grandson and we just saw it on Facebook, you guys have a meeting in Austin. And we're like, let's go to that. You know, so we dropped off a kid and went to that, and of course now I'm vacation clothes and whatnot. What surprised me is, I mean, first of all, this group is so knowledgeable that you sit there and really feel sleepy, because what they know is they've got chilling every day. Y'all, you guys have got everything together. It was amazing. But what also surprised me is that they were about to let our state capital to try to work on bills that were being passed, and they were in Austin. And I don't know how many vape shops are in Austin, but there was literally one consumer there, one shop owner, and that's it. I mean, it's where this industry needs to come together and quit being about, I want to do better than this shop or that shop. We need to come together and quit the petty drama and just get it together. And if you haven't, like if you guys haven't joined this group, dude, you need to, because they rock.
CASAW is free. CASAW is a consumer organization. They're free. Vaping Militia is like $25. Sfata, you can join Sfata as a vendor for, I think it's $250 a year. So, I mean, it's money well spent, and it's a cost of doing business if you're a vendor. Along those lines, I'm just going to share something with you. This is my personal take. There's a lot of shops in Texas. Remember I told you when we first started this, there was 18 shops that were members of Sfata. 18. It's up to 90 now. But everything we went through with Senate Bill 97, House Bill 170, 646, all this junk, there's some big vendors in Texas. There's some big juice manufacturers in Texas. There's people in Texas that have multiple shops. What frustrates me is a lot of those people, and again, I don't have anything against vape meets, I love them, but those people made damn sure they made the next vape meet in Las Vegas or Houston or wherever, but they couldn't show up in Austin. They couldn't write a check for $500 or $1,000 towards the lobbyist fund, and that pisses me off because we had a group fighting for every single vapor in Texas, spending time. I mean, I live in Amarillo. Amarillo's 9 hours from Austin. I made that drive like 4 times to go sit up there and talk to those people. But it pisses me off when you got big vendors, big juice manufacturers, that if you don't have time, that's great. But you got 2 options. You got 2 options. You can donate time or you can donate money. Because it takes money to do what we need to do. If you don't have time, write a check for $1,000, send it to Sfata, Texas.
Or, like Sherman is a good example. Sherman just, there's a gentleman that is part of our group. You guys would love him. And I think there's 2 shops there. He was the only one that showed up, I think. Am I getting into that? He was the only one that showed up. But he's had some kind of drug consumption.
And can't speak.
So he gave his public, he wrote down basically what he wanted to say. But there was nobody there to speak for him. Now, the thing that pisses me off about this is, one, honestly, I saw things. I didn't get more involved. I should have said, hey, that's not far from us. Can we come help? I didn't do that. I feel like shit about that. The second thing is, Lazarus, one of their owners, lives in Sherman. And they didn't go. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
So, I mean, that's my soapbox about vendors. Because if you want to survive, and we all do, I mean, this time next year, I want to still be able to vape.
But everybody's got to put in some effort.
That mindset has got to go away. And I don't know how to change that now. I said earlier that Texas needs a Texas organization. There's some things going on right now to set one of those up. I don't know which direction it's going to go. Sfata's great. Without Sfata, we could not have done what we did this year. Without Sfata, because they allowed us to come together quick, build membership. We didn't have to set up bylaws or do any of that stuff. Without them, we couldn't have done what we did. But because Sfata is a national organization, sometimes you get a difference of opinion when you're working through laws that are state specific. And when we sat down with these legislators, we had a lot of conversations about signature on delivery. They weren't going to budge on that because the question was, if somebody orders online, how do you as a vendor, know that that person's 18 or older. They weren't gonna budge on that. And they pretty much told us, and I remember, we're the little guys on the block. Nobody in Austin knew who we were. You've got Altria. Altria has 16 lobbyists, paid lobbyists in Austin all year long. 16, to the tune of like $935,000. Philip Morris, all the big players had lobbyists in Austin, a lot of them. So we sat at the table with these legislators' assistants, and they pretty much said, this is what we're willing to do for you guys because you're in Texas. And it wasn't, at that point, there was no more negotiation. You know, there was a lot of people, enjoyed government affairs. Dimitri looked me in the eye and said, you should never accept anything that's got a bill that's got anything in it that you don't agree with. Well, in Texas, that didn't work because we had two options. It was, this is what we're going to do for you because you're in Texas and because you're up here talking to us. If you don't accept this and agree not to contest the bill, then this language is coming. You got two options. You take the one that's least damaging for the industry. And that's what we did. You know, the signature on delivery that's in there for Texas vendors, there's an out so that you don't have to get signature on delivery. You still have to do some verification, but it's not signature on delivery. But if somebody's shipping from out of state into Texas after October 1st, they have to get signature on delivery and they have to use a carrier that will get that signature and verify age. People that are out of state shipping into Texas didn't like that. You know, I don't like it, but I live in Texas. We were working for Texas. I wish that we could have done something different so that nobody had to do anything like that, but it wasn't an option. So in those meetings, our allegiance was to Texas, and it wasn't to somebody that's in California or New York or Florida or wherever shipping into Texas. I'm sorry that's the way it worked out. Show up or shut up. If you didn't like it, you should have had somebody in Austin lobbying with us because we were brand new to this. You know, that's the way it worked out. So what we did was what was best for Texas vendors. And that's a tough place to be, you know, because there's a lot of big companies, you know, now Baker. Love them or not, they ship a lot of product into Texas. They don't like the fact that they've got to get signature on delivery. Now, if you're out of state and Texas says you have to get signature on delivery, you ship into Texas and don't do it, is Texas going to come after you? Probably not. You know, probably not. Because, you know, Texas boundaries are where that law ends. But they could. They could. Big companies are going to follow the law. Smaller companies are probably going to continue doing what they're doing. But like I said, man, it was a tough place to be when you're sitting in front of big people in the vape industry and they're, you know, basically bitching about the way something turned out when they weren't there going through all the hard work trying to figure out how we were going to do whatever we could to minimize the damages to Texas. So, but at the end of the day, this bill that's going into effect in October isn't perfect, but it's a whole lot better than it started out. And it's something that most people are going to be able to work with. Any more questions before we move on to internet sales?
I just want to point out, I guess your big question, Arkansas, there is no internet sales in Arkansas.
I'm trying to remember if that's correct because I saw two things on that. I saw that it couldn't ship to Arkansas anymore, and then I saw that that only applied to wholesale orders. So that's brand new.
No, wholesale orders can't. A wholesale order can go to Arkansas brick and mortar.
And as long as whoever's shipping it in meets whatever requirements they set up.
The consumer can only purchase from their brick and mortar.
But they can't, so we can't, it's only orders from us.
Well, you got to research that because there was some weird language in there, and I saw multiple viewpoints coming out on that. You know, Indiana's the same deal. Completely crazy rules about what you've got to do to be able to ship it. So, you guys ship via the internet, right? retail? Okay.
And I've got my internet guys over there that go for all of that.
Okay, who's the internet guys? Okay. All right, so for internet sales or online phone sales, anything that's a retail sale that doesn't come through directly through somebody walking in your store. Doesn't apply to wholesale, retail only. If you're in Texas, then here's what you have to do. You have to either utilize a third-party age verification system on the back end of your website, and that can either be Veritad or there's another one called Aristotle. It's probably going to cost somewhere. I think Shell sent something out that said Veritad was going to offer a discount. Yeah.
They're offering like it's a $1,000 setup fee and it's so much per transaction, but it's like whatever they originally like. If you guys do like some of that stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like.
Send us a copy of.
So you're gonna pick up with that. I personally like the idea of 4 years from now, if we get audited, I can say, like, go shut it down and thanks for this. Yeah, so to me, it's worth it, I think. It was very kind of us.
Veritad, Veratad, and the other one is Aristotle, Aristotle.
They take like all the list on stuff and all that off of you.
Let me ask you.
Except for like, you have to still send it out.
Does it matter, this third party, does it matter where you're shipping to, or is it only if you're
That,
shipping to Texas?
well, here's the key. You got to know the laws for the state that you're shipping to. So, Indiana, you know there's some weird stuff going on there. Arkansas, you know there's weird stuff going on there. California's got to have a Prop 65 label on it. These specific bullet points only affect orders that you ship retail into Texas from Texas. So that's all this law is concerned with. But you've got to know what the laws and the rules are for whichever state you're shipping into. So you've got to either use a third-party age verification system on the back end of your website, and that service has got to ship through a shipping service that will verify age when they deliver the package. So what that means is, if somebody's in the service, they're 18, 19, 20, there's not an age verification.
Hi, I'm Lainey with Uptown Vapor, and I'm super excited that we were able to have this wonderful organization come and speak to us. Not just us, but also two people that are going to be actually buying a franchise for Uptown. You're going to be hearing about that soon. Stay tuned. And we're just really happy about all the stuff we learned, and we really hope that other vape shops learn the rules too, because like I said, everything goes into law October 1st, and we would like to see compliance all across the board. But I can promise you this, everybody that was here today that was represented will be compliant, and that's how we do it. Tell me, what are your names?
I'm Raymond.
I'm Jerry.
And why are you here today?
We are down here.
Learning about vaping.
Okay.
And opening our own store.
So you're opening your own store. What's the name of your new store?
Down Home Vapor.
So why would you, where's that at?
Bloomberg, Texas.
Why would you come all the way from Bloomberg to Tyler?
Came down here for a SAFTA meeting to learn about advocacy for the vapors and the vapor stores, mainly the store owners, and how to support with legislature and everything else, how to actually defend ourselves against over legislation.
Okay, so, but there should be other organizational meetings near you. Why would you come to Uptown?
Because Uptown Vapor has helped us start our business.
Okay, and so what is the number one thing that you took away from this meeting today?
It is important to actually donate time and funds to the people that are there helping us.
To help fight for our rights.
Because as an individual, you don't know everything that's going on, and the people that are there that you can help support are there to help us.
And when do you open your store?
Hopefully in September.
Woo! That's exciting. Great. Well, thank you guys very much. Andrew, so you were here at our meeting today, and I would like to know what you took away from the meeting.
Well, I learned that you have to, when shipping here in Texas, you have to use a third-party aid verification system. If you're not going to utilize that, you have to have a photo ID sent to them with a filled-out form with an electronic signature anytime you ship into Texas. Pretty interesting stuff. Also, you have to have a form when you're shipping that they can see that's been prepared by our comptroller here in Texas.
So tell me, how long do you have to keep copies of the driver's license?
4 years.
4 years. So if anything happens at 4 years and you get audited, something happens to those.
Goes right back to the people we hired as far as the age verification.
So in your opinion, is it better to hire somebody to assume all the liability for that or to do it in-house?
Absolutely, I totally agree. I think we ought to hire somebody or anybody that has a business, hire them. That way you don't have to worry about the liability of it.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. As the owner of Uptown Vapor, let me ask you something. Why did you have this organization come in and talk to our, not only ourselves, but other vape owners as well?
To discuss the new regulations that each vape shop has to do.
Why is it a good idea to get involved with this organization?
Because they help you when the government comes after you.
And what is the name of the organization?
Sfata.
Woo! Got it. Hey, Diener,
What's up, Chief?
what did you take from today's meeting?
I was really happy to see the Brotherhood of the Vapes of Tyler come together. I mean, it was good to see Times Square. It was good to see Down Home Vapes. It's good to see us, all of us, in fact. It's good that we're banding together to, I would hate to say fight the government, but sometimes the government is just silly.
And we want to say that honestly, fighting the government is something that comes from your own personal views. It does not come from personal views of Uptown Vapor Lounge, LLC. Okay?
Yeah, it's not with Uptown. It's
He just likes to fight people.
yeah. I'm ornery. Me and Laney are ornery.
So how many people do you think we had in there?
Oh, about 50, 60.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was hot. We had to turn the air conditioner down because the body heat turned it
It
up.
was hot, and all the vape, it was awful. All the vape, it was just crazy. It was awful.
I couldn't see nothing, but I had water, so I made it through.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, I powered through it. It was a little bit tired.
What'd you think about Frank?
Man, I like Frank. Frank was good, and he was very informative.
If he didn't have his own shop, what do you think we should do?
We'd hire him.
We would recruit him.
We'd hire him.
Where would we put him?
Right next to me because we're fun guys.
We are fun people. Anything else you'd like to add?
Keep vaping strong!
Chief? Hey, so you were here at the meeting today, am I correct?
Sí, estás correcto.
Okay, and what is your name?
Mi nombre es Marco José Antonio Duque Lozano Paz.
And what do you do here at Uptown Vapor?
Lo que yo hago, soy la persona que se queda atrás y con el jugo que quieres lo hago yo, al 100.
So we would like for you to explain to our customers that speak Spanish what basically you took away from the meeting today.
Pues lo que aprendí hoy es que hay muchas reglas que para empezar, la ley, el gobierno que quiere hacer, es que el cigarro todos saben que es muy mal. Y para todos que es un vape, un vapor, mods y todo eso, es más mejor para las lungs. Puedes respirar más mejor y todo. Perfecto, perfecto. Todo es natural, nada pasa con los químicos o los cigarros. Muchas reglas para empezar, quieren quitarlos, quieren nuevas cosas, pero somos vapors y vapors estamos unidos. We're united.
You act like, I do not speak Espanol, but I'm understanding just from your hand gestures that you have a lot of passion for the industry.
Sí, of course, yes. Sí, tengo mucha pasión para esa cosa, me encanta. Para mis papás, mi mom and dad, les encantan ellos. Yo creo que fuman porque fumar, dinero a la basura, money to the trash.
And so our next Spanish lesson is when?
Va a ser a las viernes a las 12.
Okay, awesome. Thank
Perfect.
you. So what is your name?
My name is Chase McFarland. I am the video rep at Uptown Broadway.
That's awesome. So these new laws that we've heard about today that come into effect October 1st, even though we did have it all explained to us today, had you already heard about them?
Yes, ma'am, I had.
So have we shared it with all of our employees?
Yes, we have.
Was there any kind of literature at all that you were given about this?
Yes, I was giving a form that said I am supposed to card anybody that appears under the age of 27. If I do not card this individual, I am subject to and/or termination on the spot.
Okay, so has that been a thing for us how long has it been a thing for us as far as carding people?
It has been a thing for us since the first day we opened our doors in September of 2012.
To your knowledge, has anybody been terminated for not carding anybody?
Not yet.
Okay, do you see that happening?
I do not, because I believe that we will all adhere to the laws and what we've already put into place, because nobody wants to lose their job. We love working at Uptown Vapor.
And plus, it's just habit.
Yes, it is habit. I've done it since day one. I don't anticipate never not doing it.
Okay, and so basically, what was the best thing you took away from today's meeting?
The best thing I took away from today's meeting is that we, as a group, are actually starting to send people out to Capitol Hill and to Austin to basically fight for us, and they're speaking for the little guy, the guy that hasn't been around for.
And so this group, is Uptown a member of this group?
Yes, we are.
And do we plan on going to Austin and helping with this?
Yes, any chance we get that we learn that there is a rally or a meeting or anything where they can hear us and we can hear them, we will be there.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chase.
Thank you, ma'am.